do.
And what did you do before that?
I worked at the IRS.
And you said in your statement you were Miss Noring's personal assistant. What did Miss Noring do?
Ms. Noring was a writer. She wrote romance novels.
And what did you do for Miss Noring?
I was her legal and financial coordinator, and I helped her with things like her will and her finances.
And can you describe your relationship with Miss Noring?
Well, Miss Noring was like a mother to me. We had a really close bond. She was very special to me.
And you would say you guys were really close.
Yes.
And was Mrs. Noring ever married?
No, Miss Noring was not married. Unfortunately, her fiance died when she was much younger, and his death devastated her, so she remained single her entire life.
And did she ever talk about it?
I mean, it was really devastating to her, and she did talk about it. She had a diamond engagement ring from him that she would always look at, and it was just really special to her.
Did Miss Noring have any family?
Yes, she did. She had a niece that she watched over for most of her life named Sandy Banks.
What would you say about Sandy?
Well, me and Sandy have always had a troubled relationship. Sandy has always been into some bad stuff, particularly drugs. I've gotten to know some pretty seedy parts of town because of Sandy.
Did Sandy need the money?
Not really, because Miss Noring would always give Sandy Banks money and gifts, but Sandy would steal stuff from me and Miss Noring all the time.
You mentioned that Sandy had a drug problem. Did she ever go to a treatment or rehabilitation?
Yes, she did a lot of times, but she ended up dropping out of all of them.
What happened when Sandy... did you ever witness any conversation with Miss Noring and Sandy about her addiction?
Yeah, they talked a lot, and me and Miss Noring decided together that we could not allow for Sandy to continue to receive benefit if she were to stay on the issue.
And what happened next?
Well, we took Sandy to a drug facility recently, the Scanlon House, and she ended up dropping out of it as well.
What day did she go to the Scanlon House?
March 9th, 2011.
And where was that?
The Scanlon House is a drug facility in Rochester.
What was exchanged between Miss Noring and Sandy?
Miss Noring gave Sandy the diamond engagement ring because she thought it was a gift that would empower Sandy to be successful in the drug program.
And how long was this treatment program supposed to go on?
It was supposed to go on for 90 days.
And were those words you said before, were those her exact words at that time?
Yes.
What happened that next day?
I took Miss Noring to her lawyer to change her will.
Did she discuss with you how she wanted the will to be changed?
No, but she said that, well, she didn't say what changes she was going to make, but she said she didn't want to leave Sandy with a lot of money when she knew the drugs were going to be left. The money was going to be used to buy drugs.
And how did this whole thing make you feel?
Well, I was good. I was glad for Miss Noring that she was finally standing up to Sandy.
Did you make an appointment with her attorney?
Yes, I did, and we met.
And what happened when you went to see the lawyer?
We discussed the terms of the will.
And what happened next?
Well, we got home, and Miss Noring said she was going to wait before signing the will to see how Sandy did in the Drugs Rehabilitation Center.
And what happened after?
Well, we scheduled a new appointment for April 5th, 2011, because her lawyer was on vacation, and unfortunately on March 23rd, Sandy dropped out of the drug program.
How do you remember the exact time and date of the will change?
Oh, I marked the date for the appointment on a large calendar in the library.
And did Miss Noring have a copy of the new will?
Yes, I picked it up for her. I don't recall whether or not I read it.
And are you familiar with Mrs. Noring's jewelry?
Yes, I am. She constantly goes through it, and sometimes I help her with it.
When was the last time you looked through her jewelry?
Well, on April 2nd, 2011, she was going through it, and her hands were no longer dexterous, so she needed my help.
Can you describe how she took care of her children?